Are all girls truly who they claim to be? This is a story of Rebecca, the girl everyone thought they knew. At just 19, Rebecca was admired by all. She wore a bright smile, spoke with a soft voice, and carried herself with the grace expected of a pastor's daughter. To the congregation, she was everything a church girl should be: modest, obedient, deeply devoted to God. Every Sunday, she led worship with a voice that moved people to tears. She never missed morning devotion. She never challenged the rules. Rebecca was perfect. At least, that's what they saw. But inside, she felt caged. She was tired of rules she never agreed to, of expectations she never asked for, tired of being the model daughter of the pastor, forced to live a life designed for someone else. While she smiled on the outside, inside, she was restless. She couldn't help but notice the world beyond the church walls, a world that seemed louder, freer, intoxicating. At school, the other girls whispered about wild parties, VIP lounges, and wealthy men who showered them with gifts. They wore makeup like armor, walked in designer heels, and moved without fear of judgment. Rebecca never joined their conversations, but she listened, always listening. Curiosity, after all, is a dangerous thing. Then came Jessica. Jessica was everything Rebecca had been warned about: stunning, bold, unapologetically glamorous. She smelled of luxury, walked like she owned the ground beneath her, and flaunted a new phone, a new bag, or a new story every week, always involving men with deep pockets and expensive tastes. Rebecca couldn't look away. One afternoon, Jessica slid into the seat beside her in the cafeteria, stirring her juice with perfectly manicured fingers. "You're always so quiet, church girl," she said with a lazy smile. Rebecca returned a small, polite grin. "I just don't talk much." Jessica tilted her head, eyes gleaming. "But you listen." A pause. "And I know you wonder what it's like." Rebecca's shoulders tensed. "What do you mean?" Jessica leaned closer, voice lower, teasing. "The life, the freedom. No rules, no expectations. No one watching, waiting for you to be perfect." Rebecca opened her mouth to protest, but found no words. Jessica smiled knowingly. "Relax. I'm not here to convert you. Just saying, you'd be dangerous if you ever stopped pretending." Rebecca swallowed hard. Jessica had no idea how close she was to the truth. The first lie came easily. Her father had told her to come straight home after choir practice. Instead, she went to Jessica's house. Just an hour, she told herself, just to see. Jessica's world was unlike anything she'd known. No Bible verses on the walls. No curfews. No quiet evening prayers. Instead, music pulsed through the house. Perfume lingered in the air. Girls lounged on velvet couches, filming TikToks under ring lights, their laughter echoing like freedom. Jessica handed her a dress, short, tight, bold. "Try it on," she said with a wink. "No one will know." Rebecca hesitated. Her fingers brushed the fabric, and then, slowly, she slipped it over her body. The reflection in the mirror was unrecognizable. This wasn't the pastor's daughter. This was someone else entirely, someone daring, someone alive. And for the first time, Rebecca wondered, have I been living the wrong life all along? Sneaking out the first time was easy. Her parents were at a church vigil, her siblings asleep. Jessica's text buzzed on her phone. "Are you ready?" Rebecca changed into the dress, steady hands applying makeup like she'd seen Jessica do. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. And yet, she felt exhilarated. She slipped out the door and into the night. The club was chaos, music thundering, lights flashing, the air thick with perfume and something unspoken. Girls danced with wild grace. Men watched like hunters. Jessica leaned in and whispered, "Welcome to the real world, church girl." Rebecca took a deep breath and stepped forward. She had no idea she'd just entered the most dangerous chapter of her life. She should have been scared. She should have stopped after that first night, but she didn't. Instead, she craved more. The look she got in that dress, the thrill of rebellion, the reckless joy in Jessica's laughter. That night had unlocked something inside her, something wild, something hungry, and it was only the beginning. The first lie was harmless. The second came without thought. "I'm sleeping at Grace's house for Bible study," Rebecca told her father. Pastor James smiled proudly. That's my girl. For a brief moment, guilt flickered. Then Jessica's car horn sounded outside, calling her into the night. And just like that, the guilt disappeared. This time it wasn't just a club. It was an exclusive rooftop party. And this time, Rebecca didn't hesitate. The rooftop shimmered like a scene from a dream. Velvet couches, champagne flutes catching the moonlight, and laughter spilling into the night air. Girls in glittering designer gowns clinked glasses filled with drinks that cost more than Rebecca's entire monthly allowance. Men in tailored suits circled the room, their eyes sharp and predatory, watches gleaming under the city lights. And in the middle of it all, Rebecca stood, feeling different. No longer invisible. No longer small. She felt powerful. Jessica nudged her gently toward one of the men. Rebecca, meet David. He looked older, mid-30s. Maybe. Sharpshoot. Sharper smile. His eyes swept over her with slow, deliberate confidence. You're new, he said smoothly. Rebecca gave a small nod, suddenly hyper-aware of how exposed she felt in the tight dress. David let out a low chuckle. Don't be nervous, church girl. You're in good hands. Her breath hitched. How did he know? Jessica laughed, casually draping an arm around Rebecca's shoulders. She's special, David. Be nice. David smirked. Oh, I'll be very nice. Rebecca had no idea she was making a deal with the devil. David wasn't like the boys from school. He was a man who knew exactly how to get what he wanted. Soon, gifts began arriving. Designer heels, expensive perfume, the latest phone. You deserve nice things, he'd whisper, brushing her cheek with the back of his hand. And for the first time in her life, Rebecca felt wanted. But every gift comes with a price. One night, David pulled up in a sleek black Mercedes, the leather interior smelling of money and danger. You're beautiful, he murmured, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Her heart raced. Then he leaned in closer, and she suddenly understood. This was a price. She froze. She had liked the thrill, the attention, the feeling of being seen. But this, was she ready? David's fingers lightly traced her jawline, waiting for a sign. In that moment, Rebecca had a choice. Was she still the pastor's daughter, or had she become someone else entirely? She chose, and it was the wrong choice. Rebecca woke the next morning with a strange hollowness. She stared at herself in the mirror, searching for the girl she used to be. But all she saw was a stranger, a girl who wore expensive perfume, who carried secrets in her eyes. And the worst part? She didn't regret it. That was the first warning sign. The second came days later. Rebecca was sitting in class when her phone buzzed. David, come outside. Now. Her pulse quickened. She slipped out of class and spotted his car across the street. The moment she slid into the passenger seat, she knew something was off. David's face was different, harsher, colder. You've been ignoring my calls, he said, voice too calm. I was busy, she replied, throat tight, his jaw clenched. Don't play games with me. The air inside the car grew thick. Rebecca's stomach twisted. She had gone too deep, and she didn't know how to climb out. The lies piled up like bricks in a wall. She wasn't just sneaking out anymore. She was living a double life. By day, she was still Pastor James's daughter, the worship leader, the example. By night, she was someone else entirely. But secrets are never safe forever. Someone was starting to notice. The clash between the church world and the nightlife was becoming impossible to avoid. All it would take was one mistake to send everything spiraling. And that mistake came on a Sunday. Rebecca hadn't slept. David had been texting her all night, angry, possessive, 10 missed calls, and then one chilling message. You think you can ignore me? I made you who you are now. You owe me. Rebecca stared at the message for a long time, cold fear crawling down her spine. But today, she had to wear her other face, the obedient daughter, the church girl. She dabbed concealer over the faint bruise on her wrist. David had grabbed her too hard when she tried to leave the club. It's fine. No one will notice. Or so she thought. As she sat in the front row at church, head bowed in prayer, she felt it, someone watching her. Sharp, quiet, unblinking. Her mother, Mrs. Evelyn Adams, noticed everything. After service, Rebecca tried to rush past her parents, heart pounding. But her mother stopped her with a single word. "Rebecca." She froze. "Yes, Mom." Mrs. Adams looked her over carefully. "You've been distant," she said softly. Then her eyes flicked to the faint mark on Rebecca's wrist. She reached out and touched it gently. "What happened here?" Rebecca's breath caught. "Nothing. I burned myself. Ironing." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "I don't remember you using the iron lately." Rebecca's palms began to sweat. I used Grace's. I slept over at her place." Something in her mother's eyes shifted, a quiet realization. She didn't know everything, but she knew enough. Mrs. Adams sighed. "Come help me in the kitchen." Rebecca hesitated. "Mom, I have—" "Now, Rebecca." There was no room to argue. The kitchen smelled of fresh spices and fried plantains, the familiar warmth almost comforting. But Rebecca felt no peace, because the life she was living was starting to crack, and the truth was inching closer to the surface. Rebecca stood beside her mother in the kitchen, silently slicing onions, trying to act like everything was fine. "Tell me the truth, Rebecca." The knife froze mid-cut. Her chest tightened. "What do you mean?" Her mother's voice was calm, but steady. "You're lying to me. I can feel it." Rebecca forced a soft laugh. "Mom, you're overthinking." But Mrs. Adams didn't smile. She wiped her hands on her apron, turning to face her daughter. "I was young once, too." Rebecca swallowed. "There's a glow in a girl's eyes when she's in love," her mother said quietly. "But there's also a certain darkness when a girl is in trouble." Rebecca's throat closed. Her hands trembled slightly. "I don't know what you're doing," her mother continued gently. "But be careful, Rebecca. The devil always gives with one hand and takes something greater with the other." The words hit her like a blow. She thought about David, the gifts, the late nights, the power, and the fear that followed. Was she already losing more than she'd gained? Mrs. Adams reached for her hand. "You can tell me anything, my child." And Rebecca wanted to. For one fleeting second, she almost crumbled. She almost told her everything. But then her phone buzzed. "David, come outside. Now." Rebecca's stomach flipped. She pulled her hand away and forced a smile. "I need to go study, Mom." Before her mother could say another word, Rebecca rushed out of the kitchen, never seeing the worried tears forming in Mrs. Adams' eyes. David was waiting near the corner. The moment Rebecca stepped into the car, she knew something was wrong. He wasn't smiling. His jaw was tight, hands gripping the steering wheel. "You've been avoiding me," he said, voice low and cold. Rebecca shook her head. "No, I've just been busy. That's all." David exhaled slowly. Then, without warning, he reached over and grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him. "Don't lie to me, Rebecca." Fear surged through her. She had never seen him like this. The charming man she once thought she knew was gone. In his place was someone darker, someone dangerous. I'm sorry," she whispered. His grip loosened. He sighed. "Good girl." Then he reached into his pocket and handed her something small. A gold bracelet. Elegant. Expensive. "A gift," David said with a stiff smile, "to remind you who you belong to." The word belong made her skin crawl, but she nodded and slipped it on. And in that moment, she understood something she had refused to admit before. She wasn't free anymore. At school, Rebecca tried to pretend everything was normal, but someone was watching her. Her best friend, Grace. That afternoon, Grace pulled her aside, concern etched into her face. "Rebecca, we need to talk." Rebecca forced a light smile. "What about?" "You're different," Grace said bluntly. "You disappear. You lie. You smell like alcohol sometimes." Rebecca felt her pulse race. Her mind scrambled for an excuse. Grace's voice softened. "What's going on? Are you in trouble?" Rebecca gave a nervous laugh. "No, I'm fine. Really." But Grace didn't back down. "You know I love you, right?" Rebecca nodded quickly. "Of course." "Then tell me the truth." Silence stretched between them. Rebecca looked down. There's nothing to tell. Grace exhaled, eyes filled with sadness. Fine. If you won't tell me, I'll find out myself. Rebecca's heart stopped. What do you mean? She whispered. Grace stared at her. I followed you last night. The words hit like a slap. I followed you last night, Rebecca. Rebecca's world tilted. Her body went cold. What? She asked, barely able to breathe. I saw you, Grace said quietly. At the club, dressed like, her voice faltered. That wasn't you. That wasn't the girl I grew up with. Rebecca's hands were shaking. This couldn't be happening. If Grace knew, who else did? She forced a laugh. It's not what you think. Then explain. Rebecca opened her mouth, but no words came. The truth was too heavy, too dangerous. Grace's voice dropped. Is someone forcing you? Is it that guy? Rebecca thought of David. His grip, his threats, the way he controlled every move she made. But she couldn't say his name. She couldn't risk what would happen if he found out. I'm fine, Grace, she said flatly. Really? Grace frowned. You're not, and you don't need money that badly. Rebecca looked away. You don't understand. Then make me understand. Grace said, grabbing her hand. Rebecca pulled away. We're done talking. She turned and walked off, her chest tight, her eyes stinging. With every step, her heart pounded harder. She had just lost her best friend, and she had no idea how much worse things were about to get. Rebecca's story is far from over. The choices she made, the pain she endured, the betrayal she suffered, are they behind her or just waiting to strike again? The past doesn't vanish. It hides, waits, and returns when you least expect it. When it does, will Rebecca be ready? Can you ever truly outrun your past? Or does it always find a way back in? Should pain be buried or remembered as a lesson? If you were in Rebecca's shoes, what would you do next? Stay tuned for part 2, because the storm is coming, and not everyone will make it out alive.